from a bomb in a squid to a human hand in a shark, plus the golf ball that killed the whale, here are the 10 strangest things found in fish. Number 10. Bomb in a squid. We're starting off today's video with a bang, literally. In China, a fishmonger discovered a bomb inside of a squid. And it wasn't just a defunct bomb. It was completely alive. The device was 8 inches long and must have been eaten by the 3-foot squid before it was captured. That would have been a devastating mess if the bomb went off, especially if it happened in the middle of a fish market. According to the local newspaper, while the fishmonger was cutting into the squid, his knife hit metal. He literally stabbed the bomb. Normally, this type of squid would have a diet primarily of small fish and prawns, not explosive devices. The fishmonger explained that the squid likely thought the bomb was a small fish floating down towards its mouth. Of course, police arrived at the scene quickly to remove the bomb and carry out a controlled explosion. However, authorities said that because the bomb was so old, its exterior is rusted, and because it had been through so much between being eaten by the squid and then stabbed by the fishmonger, they were surprised it hadn't detonated already. Luckily, nobody was injured. Number 9. Hand in shark's stomach. Sometimes when you're on vacation, you lose things. Maybe you lose your wallet or your favourite sunglasses. But a Scottish tourist visiting Madagascar lost his hand inside the stomach of a shark. The Scottish tourist actually vanished while snorkeling near Madagascar, and after a long and futile search, the authorities found nothing. Then, a shark was discovered with a human hand inside its stomach. The conclusion was that the Scottish tourist was eaten by the shark, or at least part of his arm was eaten and the rest of him floated to the bottom of the ocean. This is obviously super tragic, and not the way anyone wants to end their vacation, but that's just what happens when you swim off the coast of Madagascar, in an area frequently referred to as Shark Highway. The man's wife was called in to identify the wedding ring still on the man's finger, and yeah, it was him. However, it's still unclear whether he was killed by the shark, or if he drowned and was later eaten. Since 2010, there have been at least 11 fatalities at this same spot, including a surfer who died after he had his leg bitten off by a shark. Number 8. Whale and golf ball. There are a lot of things you expect to find in the belly of a grey whale. A golf ball is not one of them. If you're a fan of Seinfeld, you likely remember the episode where George pretends to be a marine biologist to help a beached whale, only to pull a golf ball from its blowhole when it was put there by none other than Kramer. He says the classic line, "Hole in one." No? You haven't seen it? Okay. Well, this same kind of thing actually happened in real life. Unfortunately, the whale didn't make it. It washed ashore in Washington state, and after opening up its stomach, the authorities discovered a golf ball among other garbage inside its belly. However, it's unclear whether the mammal was killed by the golf ball or something else altogether. Nobody knows what happened. Hey, before we continue, I just wanted to say thanks for checking out the channel. If you like the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Number 7. Phone in the fish. A British businessman, Andrew Cheadle, lost his cell phone at the beach one day. This kind of thing happens all the time, but how the story ends is highly unlikely in usual situations. But afterwards, about a week later, a fisherman discovered it inside the belly of a giant cod. But this story gets even more interesting. Not only did the fisherman find the cell phone inside the belly of the 25-pound fish, but the cell phone was actually still working. This must have been the most resilient cell phone in the world. It was a Nokia 1600, and even though it wasn't in the greatest condition and it didn't smell very good, it still worked. In fact, the fisherman was able to use the SIM card from the phone to call the guy's girlfriend and tell her what happened. This sounds like the beginning of a plot for a romantic comedy. We have Mr. Cheadle's words. "It was working, but it kept playing up, so I had to get the circuit board changed in the end. But now it's fine." I know it sounds like a fishy tale, but it's 100% true. According to what the fisherman told local news, cod are greedy fish and will gobble up just about anything. Cod are notorious for eating plastic cups, rocks, batteries, and everything else. It probably isn't even the first time a cod has swallowed somebody's cell phone. Number 6. An entire sea lion. Mako sharks are ferocious beasts. They're vicious and powerful predators, and also considered to be the fastest of all sharks. They're closely related to the great white shark, and these enormous fish can grow to be up to 12 feet long and weigh over 1,000 pounds. So I guess it's no surprise that they have quite the appetite too. It also was not really that shocking that while the shark scientist was dissecting the stomach of a Mako shark to unravel the mysteries of the aquatic food chain, she found a 200-pound sea lion. It was mostly intact, with just a flipper missing and a few bites to its body. Aside from the enormous and unfortunate sea lion, there were other bones inside the shark's stomach as well, yet to be identified. Mako sharks will eat just about anything, but are partial to squid, fish, seabirds, other sharks, and of course, sea lions. While this seems like the most incredible thing ever, that same shark scientist has dissected at least 200 shark stomachs and has found lots of other surprising things, including pork steaks wrapped in paper, salads, and even a bullet from a gun. Number 5. Newspaper in a sunfish. If there's one place you expect to find a morning newspaper from 1883, it's in a time capsule from 1883. However, researchers from the Natural History Museum of London recently found a Sydney Morning Herald from Australia inside the stomach of a giant sunfish. This happened in 2016, with the newspaper being from January 1883. What's even more incredible is that the sunfish was captured in December 1882 and then stored in London at the museum. How exactly the newspaper got inside of the sunfish is a mystery, and nobody is quite sure what happened. Either somebody stuffed it in there, or the sunfish managed to eat someone from a month in the future. Then again, it's entirely possible that during the transportation of the fish from Australia to England, a newspaper ended up being dropped into its mouth. After all, the fish was so big that it had to be lifted by a crane. The fish was 8 feet long and 11 feet from fin to fin. I bet someone thought they were really clever. Number 4. A police badge. A fisherman in the Philippines caught a really big fish. He also caught a guard badge along with it. After cutting open an enormous grouper, he found the security guard badge inside its stomach. This immediately led locals to believe that the fish had somehow eaten a person. Wouldn't you assume that too? Even though a grouper isn't generally that dangerous, nobody saw any other way for the badge to have gotten inside the fish's stomach. Also, the man ended up having a nightmare of a time trying to sell his fish once locals found out about the badge, as they were afraid that the fish had eaten somebody and nobody wanted to eat a fish with human remains inside of it. It's a totally bizarre story, but hey, just another day in the rural Philippines. As for the owner of the security badge, he or she was never found or identified. Number 3. 900 coins in a turtle. Get your tissues out for this next one, because you might just tear up a little. A turtle in Thailand swallowed hundreds of coins thrown into the water of her enclosure. The turtle was ironically named Omsin, which means piggy bank, and her enclosure was a popular tourist destination where people would come from all over the country to throw coins in the pond because they thought it would bring them good luck. Well, it wasn't very lucky for the turtle, who ate over 900 of the coins. It ended up needing emergency surgery because all that weight had actually cracked its shell. Omsin had swallowed an astounding 11 pounds of coins. And while the surgery was initially okay, she had complications days later, and the turtle had to have another surgery that she sadly never woke up from. It was super tragic, but at least the turtle had a chance to swim briefly without all those coins in her stomach right before she passed away. Obviously, this is more of a story about how purely ignorant people are when it comes to animals. What's the suffering of a turtle for a little bit of superstitious luck at the toss of a coin? This story should serve as a reminder that animals can mistake human artifacts like plastic and, or in this case, coins for food. Please don't litter, and don't throw coins into ponds or fountains with animals in it. Number 2. Salmon eggs. If you've never seen eggs inside of a fish, get ready to have your mind blown. What you're looking at now is the harvesting of hundreds and hundreds of salmon eggs done in a professional processing plant. It's actually quite simple. The belly is sliced open and then all the eggs are scooped out, and they will probably be used for some fancy caviar. Each roe sack of eggs, as they are referred to in salmon or trout, is scooped onto a sieve that separates the eggs from the membrane. The eggs are then washed and filtered, then drained. Later, they will be weighed, cured with salt and graded. Then before long they will be sitting on your kitchen table. If you like caviar, that is. What's interesting is that the eggs must be harvested immediately after the fish is killed. Otherwise, the fish's body will release a toxic chemical that essentially kills the eggs. It's a savage process, but still fascinating to see. Number 1. Baby duck. As usual, I have reserved the final story to be something a little less traumatic. Rather than gross old fish guts, let's talk about a woman in Indiana who recently caught a bass and received a little bit more than she was expecting. She looked inside the mouth of the fish and found herself staring at a duckling. That's right, it was an actual baby duck. If you weren't already aware, bass and other types of fish will actually snack on baby ducks. Unlike you or I, fish have absolutely no shame. They really don't mind eating ducks. And they certainly don't mind eating the innocent little babies. Did you know bass eat ducklings? The woman who discovered the bass and the duck was shocked, and she quickly released the fish back into the water. Unfortunately, the baby duck was not as lucky. Even before the woman had caught the fish, the duck had been a goner. And while everyone definitely feels bad for the adorable duck, that's just the circle of life. The ducks eat the bread, the fish eat the duck, and we eat the fish. Oh yes, and in case you were wondering, ducks also eat fish. So it really is a full circle. And not only will a bass eat a duckling, a bass will eat anything it can fit into its mouth, including snakes, mice, and even blackbirds. Thanks for watching. Which one of these fishy discoveries was the most shocking? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Come back soon for another fun and exciting video, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Have you ever gotten food poisoning after eating a fish? If so, what kind of fish did you eat?